Hey everybody, welcome back to the DFA Sports Podcast. My name is Chris. I'm the host here, and we are going to be continuing our segments here on our pre-draft for fantasy football. Today we are getting into the quarterback rankings. Should be a good one. We're going to get straight into it at number 15 with Kirk Cousins. Now, Kirk Cousins is obviously a usually perennial top quarterback when it comes to fantasy football. He has a ton of attempts. He's got two bona fide receivers in Thielen and Jefferson. The passing offense is their focus, even though they do have Dalvin Cook. He did have over 500 passing attempts last year, 516. But the defense struggled a lot last year due to injuries. We don't think they're going to have that much struggling when it comes to the defense this year. So we moved him down a little bit more than when he was at last year, which is number 10. So we're going to keep Cousins at number 15. Number 14, Carson Wentz. Now this is tough to judge because Phillips Rivers had a really good year last year, pretty solid year with the Colts. And Carson Wentz has marked improvement over who he is, just from an athletic standpoint, younger, faster, stronger, with a much better arm. The Colts have a really good offensive line. It's very elite, but they like to run the ball a lot. A lot of their receivers are hurt, except for Michael Pittman, who did kind of come into his own at the end of the year. So we should see Carson Wentz do pretty well, but he's very injury prone as well. He's been on the COVID list, so we don't know how often he's going to play. I don't think he's going to play all 17 games, so I only have him at number 14. Number 13, Ryan Tannehill. Now, Tannehill had a great year last year, 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. He even had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. I don't think he's going to continue that with the loss of Arthur Smith from his OC position, now being the head coach over at Atlanta. The new offensive coordinator is going to rely way too much on Derrick Henry. They're going to run the ball a lot. Derrick Henry runs the ball more than any other running back in the league. Might as well just keep doing that. But they do have Julio Jones this year, and A.J. Brown is getting into his second year in the system and everything like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up good numbers, but I don't think he's going to match what he did last year based on, 7 rushing and touchdowns is pretty abnormal for Ryan Tannehill. I wouldn't be surprised if he does have a pretty good amount of, yards and TDs, but I think they're going to heavily rely on Derrick Henry. So we have him at number 13. Number 12, this is a kind of not really a long shot when it comes to fantasy, but some people are going to see it this way. Matt Ryan with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Arthur Smith, who basically reinvented Ryan Tannehill's career, is now with the Falcons, and he is basically going to try to do the same thing and not reinvent, but basically reignite Matt Ryan's career. He's always been a great elite quarterback. We're just looks like they're trying to milk out the last couple of years with him. He's only got 2 or 3 more years left on his contract. He has the most passing attempts in the year last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of trims down a little bit, even though Mike Davis as their running back is not as good as you would want him to be if you were going to continue to go with the running game. But they got Kyle Pitts now, an all-elite talent at tight end. He should be able to help them in their mid-level passing game. Calvin Ridley is a great deep threat. He's turning into one of the top 5 receivers in the league. Matt Ryan should have another great year. Wouldn't be surprised if 12 is a little low, but we're going to keep him at 12 this year just because of all the up in the airs, okay? Number 11, Matt Stafford. Now, I know a lot of people are trying to put Matt Stafford on the Hall of Fame already with the Rams. He hasn't taken a snap. I know they have a much better offense, much better defense, total overall roster when it comes to Matt Stafford. But he really wasn't – his talent's always been there, but he hasn't really put up the numbers that he usually puts up, even with the Lions. I mean, he had 1 or 2 years where he put up 5,000 yards, 4,000 yards, but that's with Calvin Johnson and an elite defense. He's never won more than 10 games except for twice, and that's when their defense was in the top 10. Now, he will have a top 10 defense with the Rams. He doesn't have Calvin Johnson, okay? So it's going to be a little different. I understand that, but McVay's really good. Stafford's really good. They're going to throw the ball. People are saying he's going to throw for 6,000 yards. I don't think that's going to happen. He's probably throw for 4,500, which is pretty good. That's still going to be about 500 more than he did last year. It's an extra game. He had low touchdowns last year at 26. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes up to the 30s. Matt Stafford's going to do really, really well. I just don't want to put him in the top 10 yet because, it's a new coach, new offense, new everything. So Matt Stafford, number 11. Number 10, Dak Prescott. This is all based on whether he's going to be healthy or not. Obviously, he's had the ankle injury last year. Even with the ankle injury last year, he was in the top 20 of overall quarterbacks. He threw for 1,800 yards and 9 touchdowns in 6 games total with only 220 attempts. So he's very productive when he plays. He's already had a shoulder injury. Hard Knocks is showing that he feels like he's good to go, but we all know when you've had injuries in the past, more injuries creep up. He's a really good player. He's got really good receivers in Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. If Michael Gallup can ever become who Michael Gallup is supposed to be, they're going to have 3 really good receivers. They have Ezekiel Elliott and a strong offensive line. We will see, because that defense is a leaky bucket and will let people run up and down the floor on them. So we'll see if they, are playing from behind a lot and have to just throw the ball. Number 9, Baker Mayfield. Now, some people say this is maybe a little high for Baker. He doesn't really have a ton of passing attempts. He hasn't gotten over 500 in the last couple of years. That's probably because they just turn around and give the ball to Nick Chubb. I'm pretty sure Stefanski's going to keep doing that because it's his second year in the system. He only had 480 attempts last year. They have an elite offensive line and running game. Why not lean on that? There's no reason to have Baker Mayfield air it out every single game if they can just give the ball to Nick Chubb. But I still think he's going to put up a lot of big numbers. OBJ is coming back. We'll see how that goes. If they can get him into the play action game where OBJ over the top after running the ball, he should have a little bit better numbers when it comes to overall touchdowns because he only had 26 last year and 3,500 yards. So I wouldn't be surprised if Baker takes a pretty big jump. 4,000 yards, maybe 30 touchdowns. He needs to cut down on the interceptions, though, and just manage the game. I mean, it's the Browns. If they want to have a shot at winning the AFC against the Chiefs, then he needs to just manage the game and not try to be a superhero. Number 8, Tom Brady. Now, some people would say he's old. He's 44. He looks like he's 30 still. Second most passing attempts in the league last year with a brand new team, no offseason. This year he has a full offseason. He's got an elite wide receiver core. He's got a top offensive line. He is the best quarterback to ever play the game. He has, like I said, he's got an actual offseason. He's not going to throw 40 touchdowns again. They don't really run the football. When they get ahead, because they will, because their defense is elite as well, they're going to run the football. He's going to check down to runs and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to do exactly what he did last year. He was 8th overall. I probably him at 8th again this year. I don't foresee him making any big jumps. There's nothing really that's going to go crazy. He had a really good year overall for the entire year. Maybe he cuts down the 12 interceptions and gets a little bit better. But other than that, Tom Brady's going to stick where he's at right now. He's a solid quarterback. You could probably get him late rounds. Number 7, Justin Herbert. Now, he set all the world on fire last year with rookie records. 595 attempts is third most, basically, in the league. I don't see anybody else. I don't see him throwing 595 times again. He put up a ton of yards. He's the second year in the system. He's got a new tight end. They have a really, really good defense. They've upgraded the offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws less attempts, has better yards, more touchdowns. He was 8th or 9th overall last year. We're moving him up to 7th this year. I think really what's going to happen in fantasy terms is his receivers are going to benefit more than he will, especially even his running backs. So he's still going to be a quality starter. You can still get him in mid-rounds, but we still have 6 other people that I think are going to end up being better than him. But I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Herbert still lights the world on fire again this year. He's just going to be more efficient than he was last year. Number 6, Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson's really weird because he can either be the best running or quarterback in the league or one of the worst, depending on the matchups. He throws one of the best deep balls in football. He's got Tyler Lockett, who is one of the best deep threats in football. And now he has DK Metcalf, who can do everything. He's 6'5", almost like 290 pounds. He's not 290 pounds, we know that, but he plays like he's basically 290 pounds. He runs people over. He's one of the fastest guys in the field. They're really good. This is a weird year for them because all of their running backs are healthy for the first time in like 6 years. Pete Carroll loves to run the football. Russell Wilson knows what he needs to do to win. He wins all the time. He's got unbelievable scramble ability to extend plays. I still think he's going to be one of the top 6 quarterbacks this year. I just don't foresee him, jumping up ahead of everybody else just because of how coin flippy he can be. They do play in a tough division with a lot of good defenses as well. So Russell Wilson at number 6. Number 5, Lamar Jackson. Now, he didn't have a very good year when it comes to passing last year, but he still ran for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns on 150 carries. I mean, the dude was almost basically running for, 8-9 times every time he takes the ball. He's the most athletic quarterback right now in the league. He's got a great overall roster. He doesn't have to carry the team. The defense can carry the team for him. The running game almost was going to be able to carry the team for him, but with J.K. Dobbins and Justice Hill going down with injuries and them having to rely only on Gus Edwards, it might put a little more on Lamar Jackson to run the football, but I don't think they're going to run it as much as they normally do. He does need to get more yards, throw the ball downfield with more accuracy this year, but he's still going to put up unbelievable points just because he can run for 1,000 yards and throw for 3,000 yards in a season. I mean, there's not that many quarterbacks in the league history that are going to be able to do that. So we have a number 5. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers. Now, he was the 2nd overall quarterback last year. He's going to come back down to earth this year. He threw 48 touchdowns last year with only 5 picks. He had 520-something attempts, 4,300 yards. He was the MVP. He's one of the best quarterbacks in history. He's not going to do that every single year going into his 37th. He's 37 years old. He's not going to do it all the time. He still only has Devontae Adams. He did find a really, really good tight end in Robert Tonyan, but he needs a second receiver. They have never given it to him. He's told them a billion times that he wants a second receiver. Now he's telling them he may retire. He may not retire. You never know. I only have him at number 4 based on pure talent. He could quit midway through the season. We don't know. Go host Jeopardy. To be honest with you, that's the thing that's up in the air. He's not going to have a 48 touchdown year again. That's only happened 4 times in history of football. It's not going to happen every single year for Aaron Rodgers. So I know all the Packers fans think he's God's gift to football, but we don't even know if he's going to play through the whole season. He may get mad and go try to do other things. So we have him at number 4 because obviously he's one of the best talented quarterbacks in the league, but I'm not going to put him above the other 3 that are there hunting for championships. Number 3, Josh Allen. He was number 1 overall last year, probably because he had 8 touchdown runs, 37 touchdowns, 4,500 yards. He's got one of the best receivers in the league in Stephon Diggs. He's only going to make top strides again. He may end up being better than 3rd overall, but I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of comes back down, maybe get a little bit more efficient, win more games. They don't really have a running game, so he is going to have to do a lot of that. He had a really, really good year last year. He should be able to come back with that and do it again. I like the other 2 that I put ahead of him more than him at this point. Top 3, any one of these are replaceable. If you get any of these 3 guys, you're gonna basically do whatever you can do and have one of the best quarterbacks. So we put Josh Allen at 3. I know a lot of people like him to be the best one this year. I just don't think he's going to be able to repeat that with that many touchdowns through the air and on the ground. Number 2, Kyler Murray. This is a slam dunk. Whatever you can do. He runs the ball a lot. He throws the ball a lot. They basically have no running backs, no running game outside of him scrambling around. They got A.J. Green, which is good for him. They also have DeAndre Hopkins, which is good for him. He's one of the best mobile quarterbacks. He's basically Russell Wilson, but with speed. Can't really throw the deep ball like Russell Wilson, but he has a really good arm. But when he throws for 4,000 yards, runs for 800 yards, he's got more touchdowns on the ground than any tight end had through the air. It's a slam dunk. And when you have a quarterback that can do that kind of stuff and still also throw for 4,000 yards, it's pretty ridiculous. The thing that he needs to do is cut down on the interceptions, get some more TDs through the air, trust his receivers, maybe dump down a little bit better, and he'll end up being the number 1 guy. But it's going to be difficult to top the number 1 guy on the list, which is Patrick Mahomes. Almost 600 attempts. They throw the ball a lot. With Clyde Edwards-Helaire having some issues injury-wise right now to start the season, they're going to really rely on Patrick Mahomes. He has not lost in September. I know that is a boogaloo curse thing to say. Andy Reid's like 22-3 in September since he's joined the Chiefs. So they don't really lose games, but it's not because of Patrick Mahomes. I'll tell you that right now. So 4,700 yards, 38 TDs, 6 interceptions, unbelievable. Best offensive scheme in football, top receiver, the best tight end in football, the best arm in football, arguably. Some people say Josh Allen. But McCole Hardman and Tyreek Hill are the 2 fastest guys in the league. Nobody's going to outrun them. They're not outrunning the football with Patrick Mahomes. He's doing things that you haven't seen people do in the history of the NFL. If you really want to know, go back and watch the Super Bowl highlights where he throws a ball 40 yards down the field, basically laying down in midair. And almost, if the guy catches the ball, it's a touchdown, and then it's a different game. But there are just things that he's doing with the football that nobody else can do, and nobody else is going to be able to do for a long period of time until somebody catches up. So that's the list. It's pretty easy for us on our end. We really honestly think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. I'm not just saying that because it's a homer and stuff like that, but it's even the players voted him number 1. So any questions or anything like that, please put them in the comments. We really appreciate it. Let us know who you think you have on the list, who you got, who you drafted, what round you got them in. Like, subscribe, comment, do everything you can. We really appreciate it if you like the content, and we'll see you on the next one.